Rabbito Farmino, I'm back online. I'm so sorry, something happened. The streaming stopped, so I'm starting again. Apologies for that. This technology thing is always beating me, but we'll get there at some point. So let's try again. Can anyone hear me again? I'm not getting any good at this. Can anyone hear me at all? Can anyone hear me at all? I apologize. We are 17 minutes. We're supposed to be 17 minutes into this. Can anyone hear me at all? Hello. Can anyone hear me at all? Can anyone hear me? I'm so sorry. This live broadcast is going. Let's see if this is working. Can anyone hear me? Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm so sorry if it is messing up. It's because of course I am not tech savvy, and I do apologize for that. But let me do this, and I will put it in the I'm gonna put this in the on the website on the YouTube, so we can all have access whenever we are ready. I do apologize. So we're gonna talk about rabbit kits. Rabbit kits. So as we know, rabbits are born bald, as in no fur. They're born with no fur, and they don't have any. They don't hear anything, and are born. I'm just checking myself to make sure I've got this right. So rabbits are born bald, and they have no fur, but they grow very quickly. Within the first few days, they start growing fur very rapidly, and within a week, they almost will grow full fur, and their ears will open, and then their eyes will start opening between 7 and 12 days. Their eyes will open, and then they start experiencing their environment. In my opinion, I think the first 2 weeks is the most critical week for rabbit babies. The reason is that they don't see anything. They only go by vibration. So for instance, they only feel when the mother is in to feed them. That's when they feel like the vibration, or they feel that the mama is around, and they all like fight to go and see who's gonna get the first bite of mommy's milk. So this is the period where I think they are the most vulnerable, because at this period, depending on your setup, you may get mortality as the mother goes into their nesting box. They might trample on them, step on them mistakenly, and thus they might just die or get injured, which could lead to their death. Because most African or most setups have got nesting box made of wood or metal, and sometimes the mother is jumping without knowing where he's stepping. If any of the babies have left the bunch, as you can see behind me, babies normally bunch themselves together, and if any of these baby for any reason at all have moved away from the bunch and the mother steps on them, that's just the end of it. Or the baby might get injured and might not recover from it. Now, rabbit babies from birth are very vulnerable because it depends on where they are born. If they are born in a Western world where it's very cold, then in your mind, how to protect them from the cold is what you're thinking about. In fact, from my experience, I've had 2 litters in the UK that have done very well in the cold. I did not have to use any heat patch or any heating, external heating. These babies have done very well. The babies you're looking at were born a week before Christmas, and they are all thriving very well in the cold. That's because the mother is a very good mother. She made a very good warm nest for them, which means they are able to go and shield themselves and look after themselves from there. So it's really depend on your setup and the mother as well. Well, I like to talk about the West, and then I like to talk about Africa, because Africa is very important to me. In Africa is the other way around. Africa, we don't have to worry about the cold, so we have to ensure that where they are having the baby is not directly facing the sun, because the heat is the problem in Africa. It's the opposite, isn't it? So we have to make sure that there is enough ventilation wherever the mommy is going to have the baby, because equally, when it's too hot for these babies, the babies can still die because they are vulnerable. It may be too hot for them. So this is from birth to 2 weeks. It is very important for us to understand this. Rabbit babies cannot regulate their temperature, and therefore it's important that we create a serene environment for them to thrive. Otherwise, they will have problems. The other problem is rabbit babies. If the mother is not feeding them well, and again, it's very easy for us to say the mommy is not feeding them well because mommy is a bad mother, when that is not actually entirely true statement. The mother may be traumatized. Mother may be suffering postnatal depression, because she might not feel satisfied with the environment, and also the food she's being fed. She might not be getting the right nutrition in the feed that she's getting in order for her to feed the babies properly. And therefore, within the short 2 to 3 weeks, these are some of the reasons why babies die very quickly. There is also this uncontrollable situation where genetically the mother or the father will pass on genes that are not strong enough for the babies to survive. So, we will have stillbirth. We will have situations where rabbits are giving birth to very weak babies because the mother has begun. If the mother is stressed, that stress might pass on to their babies. So we have to be aware of all these things and not just blame the mother for not feeding them. So, some of the things that we can do to prevent this is making sure that we are checking the babies, that their belly is full. It's just a small test. We don't necessarily have to press their belly or something. When you pick them up, you realize that their belly is poking out a little bit. And if you compare all of them and their stomach is like that, then it means the babies are being fed properly. Rabbits, for their nature, they are very secretive, so they would not openly feed their babies. They have their own timing, and the timing is such that you will sometimes not be able to capture when they are feeding their babies or when they are not feeding their babies. So you might think, excuse me, you might think they are not feeding their babies, but they do feed their babies at least twice a day. And sometimes you will never see them feeding their babies. That does not mean they are not feeding their babies. Just so we are clear on that, it does not mean they are not feeding their babies. They are just secretive, because in the wild, if you've seen rabbits videos in the wild, they are very secretive because, number one, they don't want any predator to follow them when they are going to feed their babies. So they are very quick. They look around, make sure it's safe before they go and feed their babies, only for about 5 minutes. Once they finish feeding the babies, they cover the nesting box and leave the area immediately. So it's only about 5 very, very short period of time. They do what they have to do and then they go. That is how rabbits feed their babies. So you might not see it. I know a lot of rabbit keepers, rabbit farmers, just because they don't see them feeding them, they assume the mothers are not feeding the babies, and therefore practice a very common practice, which is forced feeding, where you hold the mother down and allow the babies to suckle. Whilst it's not really a bad thing, my downside about that is sometimes you may end up stressing the mother. Whilst you're holding her down, she might get stressed because in her head she's fed them already. It's really a catch-22 where you want to make sure that the babies are fed, because you don't want to lose your babies. But in the mother's mind, she's also fed her babies already, so she doesn't see the reason why. And if the mother gets stressed, then she may decide to abandon the babies, or that might add more stress to the mother. So it is something that we have to be very careful when we are practicing it. I'm not necessarily saying we shouldn't practice it, but what I'm saying is sometimes we are too quick in assuming that the mother is not feeding the baby, so we have to apply force feeding. So just saying, by all means, if you have a reason, or excuse me, if you have a concern, by all means go ahead and force feed. But observation, a little bit more observation, will show you that the babies are being fed, so there is no need. So now let's look at from 2 weeks, because from 2 weeks now the rabbits, the babies, are pretty much aware of their environment, and they will start slowly venturing out of their nesting box. This is where it gets interesting. If it's in a farm environment where mama is there with them 24 hours, then what's going to happen is the mother can get stressed easily, because the children, the babies, can, always, as babies, always would like to hustle mommy for milk. Because mommy knows the time she does this, she might get stressed, and when she tries to jump away from her babies, she might stomp on some of them. Never intentionally. I just want to clarify that rabbit mothers will never intentionally kill their babies. It all happens by accident. So from when they leave the nesting area to when they join mommy in the litter box, in the living area, in the cage or hutch, there's still a danger, because mommy can jump suddenly. There could be, mommy can panic and start running and then stamp on one or two of them, and then you have fatalities. There is also the possibility of, if mommy is not getting adequate nutrition, then obviously she will not get enough breast milk to feed the babies, which means the babies will be malnourished, which means they will not be growing properly. And it poses a danger to the babies. Now, when they're out in the box with mommy, as you can see behind us, they are trying to eat anything that mommy is eating, anything in the litter box. And this is equally very critical for us to be aware of what we are putting in a litter box. I am more careful between the second week and the third week, up to the fourth week, where I am convinced that they can start eating vegetables and anything. I would prefer there to be in the litter box, in the cage, only edible food for them, because anything that is not edible, they're still going to eat. I remember the first time I saw a rabbit baby eating the mommy's feces. I was so alarmed, and I quickly swept the whole of the inside, thinking this is not good for them, before I got to know about secotrophy, which is rabbits sometimes ingest their own poo because they get some nutrients from it, so they ingest their own poo. So just be aware that whatever is in the hutch or in the cage, the rabbits are going to try to eat it, including water. As you can see, just saw the other one and this one going to drink water. They will eat anything that is in the hutch. So we have to be aware of what we put in the hutch, because they will mumble and they will eat it. They will try to eat it because they're still growing. So things like making sure that you've got only soft hay and the right pellets for them. Now, I'm going to say this for Africa, especially for Africans or those of us who formulate our own feed. Sometimes the powdery nature of the feed we give them could affect them in the long run, because they are babies. They are putting their whole face in the feed, and they are inhaling this powder. And have you had a situation where you have so much dust going through your nostril? So these babies cannot always handle these things 100%, and that may go a long way to affect their health. And because rabbits, their system is so delicate, especially as kids, you bring it back to human beings, children are more vulnerable because their immune system is not fully formed. So rabbits may still be on their mom's, rely on their mom's breast milk for their whole nutrition up to certain stage before they start to fully depend on the pellets or any feed that you feed them. Generally speaking, rabbit babies from 4 weeks on are almost fully eating anything, eating solid food, drinking water, but still depending on mommy's breast milk a little bit. But by the time we get to the fifth to sixth week, they are almost getting independent. And this is where it is very important for you to feed them the right nutrients and treat them with the right vitamins, let them get the right vitamins and all the right nutritional values they should get from whatever you're feeding them, the hay you're feeding them, the fresh grass you're feeding them, the vegetable you're feeding them, the pellets you're feeding them, because they will slowly stop depending on their mother for food. They are depending on their mother to learn the skills, how to live and stuff like that. So what you're seeing at the background, these are only 3 weeks old, going 4 weeks. And as you can see, they've started eating the pellets. They are not depending on the pellets 100% or the grass 100%. They are still suckling mommy's titties. So they are not fully ready to depend on themselves. Now, let's talk about some of the reasons why this stage is also critical. The weaning stage. Different people do their weaning in different ways, but usually the way I do it with my pet rabbit is a weaning stages. So I'm observing all of them almost every day, and I know the hardy ones, the ones that are very hard, and I could see the ones that are a bit, not too hard. Usually I wait till the 6th week and I check. At that time, I will be able to tell the boys from the girls to know their gender. So I normally will separate all the boys from mommy from the 6th week. That's because I want the mothers to learn a little bit more. I want the females, the does, to learn a bit more the trade of motherliness. So I separate the boys, and it's not just one or two of them. I separate them and keep all of them together, so they still have each other to look after. I remember Beverly, this is Beverly and her babies. Her first litter, she had 11. There were 5 boys and 6 girls. So I separated the 5 boys from the 6 from mommy first, and they were all good. They were all looking after each other. They have each other for support. Rabbits need that support. Sometimes when you win them and you separate them immediately, you won't believe it, but some can die from, from just being sad that they are alone. So I would say I will keep them together till they are about 10 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks. They can be together. You can even mix the sexes together up to 10 to 12 weeks. By the 12 weeks, you have to start separating the males and the females. And definitely by the 13th to 14th week, you have to start thinking about separating the boys, or putting them in pairs. At least when you put them in pairs, it's much easily managed than when you leave all of them to be in the same place. So this is how I will keep them. Now, let's talk about why rabbits are still vulnerable from, let's say, the weaning stage up to sometimes all the way up to the fourth month. Now, this is because genetically some rabbits, their system just stop growing. The system stop developing, and it's no fault of anybody. They are the faders. They will grow and then they start fading. There's nothing you can do or anyone can do to bring them back. The system will just stop fading. And these are sometimes genetic issues that are very deep. You realize I mentioned about the breathing in of the powdered formulated feed. Sometimes this can have effect on them because these things will go a long way to affect their respiratory system, and in the future they will stop breathing, or their respiratory tract will have complications and they might just die. Also, they may develop other infections and diseases as they are on their own, depending on how you're feeding them, what you're feeding them. If you're feeding them contaminated grasses, it might hurt them. So rabbits, to my knowledge, they are vulnerable all the way up to when they are about 3 to 4 months. So my advice there is, my general advice is you should only get rabbits to start your farming when they are over 4 months old. That way you know 100% that these rabbits, they've gone through all the stages we've discussed. Their system is fully formed and they are ready to stand on their own. So that when you're using them as a breeding stock, all these things I've mentioned, if you buy them earlier than 4 months, can happen to you. Especially if you're using it as a starting stock, it's very important for you to start right and get a right, healthy rabbit to start with. So this is Rabbito Farmino. I thought I'll bring you this. Thank you very much. I'm going to cut it short here. We had 6 people, and I apologize for the hiccup once again. We will catch up in the next video. Thank you very much. Unless anyone got any question, I hope everyone have learned. If you haven't got any question now and you have a question later, please feel free to ask me, and we will be able to we'll be able to have that discussion whenever you are ready. I hope all of you had a good festive period, and we are ready to continue our rabbit farming and ensure that we succeed in this venture. What do you think? How do you win the babies? I think I'm gonna wait 5 more minutes before we call it a day, just in case someone have got any question. How do you win your babies? These are my pet rabbits. They are not farm animals, but I've learned so much from these ones than I have learned from the farm environment. So all these ones you're seeing there have been weaned from my farm. These are the boys group. It's 5 of them. So they get the group of them come out to play, and that's what you're witnessing. But it's very important to make sure you're supporting them emotionally, giving them the right food, giving them enough room for them to live in, because sometimes when the room is not big enough, they can have complication. Let me know in the comment section if you stumble upon this live. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you have any suggestion, any advice, this will be much welcome. If you have any discussion, bring it on and we'll share it together. This is Rabbito Farmino. We're going to end it here. Thank you very much. This is a little bit later on. I'm playing with the time to know what time is best for people who love rabbits, for us to have conversations. So I'm trying to find out what time is best. So you can even suggest to me in the comment section, what time do you think will be the best? I think Sunday is a day when most people are off. So that's why I think it's good to do it on Sunday. But if you have any other suggestion, I'll be more than happy to make adjustments so that we have more people coming to this live section. But 6 is also very good number. Good number of people coming live with me. I know a lot of people will watch later on in their own time. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you in the next video. Expect some videos within the week. This January, I'm going to try to pump out as many videos as possible. So we will literally cover a lot of topics and revisit some of the topics that we've spoken about already in order for us to refresh ourselves. Rabbito Farmino, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.